All right. Today's practice was up and down, and I thought there were good moments. I thought the defense had a good response at the end, but there were times in practice where I didn't feel the edge that's necessary. We got challenged, held accountable, and we're going to be better than what we were today. And so, for the standard and expectation of what this football team needs to be, we got to respond. There's some positions are light in numbers, due to different injuries or guys that not quite available yet. And we got some guys that are fighting their butts off, to maximize the opportunities they have, and then there's guys that are missing out on opportunities to take advantage of some of the reps that they're getting. So we got to bring a better edge throughout. But I thought defense middle part of practice was just okay. I thought that towards the end you felt the energy. There's some explosive plays that showed up, and they responded well. I think that there's the different dynamics that can show up throughout the course of a practice. Throughout the course of spring ball, there's competition, there's push, and I'm looking for guys that show the edge and response that's necessary for us to go and be what I know we're capable of being. So I thought there's good and bad in it, but we'll go and continue to push and be better.
When that's happening in real time, what players recognizing it, what players vocal that?
Yeah, I mean, there's you see it, and I want it to be more and quicker, and so but you got to see what it looks like and who's willing, and so I think that's part of opportunities that we have to seize, that we've got to address, that we got to identify, and as a coaching staff, we got to be better. We got to show what we want that to look like. We got to affirm it. When we see the players holding guys to end themselves to that standard, and they've got to feel that energy and see that response from us. Just as a staff as well.
Going back to the scrimmage when you watch film and met with the staff afterwards, anything revelations?
No, I mean, I thought there, you watch the I guess the first groups going. I thought, offensively, there was, good movement of the ball. At times where they were able to see them, put together drives. We lacked, or we had some missed opportunities for the explosive play. Some of that, was definitely created, with the way the defense was playing. But there were some drives that were put together. I think that finishing the drives. There's some dynamics of it. Just with the quarterbacks and times of extending plays and what would they or would they not have been. Those are always questions. But we're operating the way that we're operating in that. But it sets up great situations for guys to have to work through. And I thought it was a lot of good situational work. I thought the defense, they were able to eliminate, the explosive play. I think that, they were able to create a couple of the takeaways, which were good. And then, just, looking for that continued violence to the ball. There was one ball that got knocked out, throughout it, which, going back and seeing on film real time, it was tough to see, but that was a positive. But I want more, and it's for all phases, just continue to feel that the violence that's necessary in playing this game. And I think that big picture, I think we are pushing. I think we're pushing harder. I think there's a better chase. There's you feel the team together, and that's why even today my expectation is for it to be better than what it's been. And I don't think we hit that in all periods, every play. But I do like what I've seen for now 10 practices, as a big picture whole, just we got to have that constant improvement. We got to have that constant edge, and you never know what play in the game is going to be the difference maker. And so we've got to approach every play with that expectation. And so, but I was pleased with a lot of the different elements that showed up, and lot of good film to be able to teach off of and grow from.
You mentioned some position groups being lighter and not presenting opportunities. I guess who's stepping up in your estimation? Who's taking advantage of those opportunities?
Yeah, a guy that I thought did well, got some run in the first group. Jonathan Daniels. He's still a freshman. And he's still got a lot of things that he's learning and working through. But I thought that he did some good things. I've really been pleased. The leadership, on some guys on the offensive line. We're down some guys up there, and but Luke Pettibone, has been remarkable. Him, Adrian Medley, both those guys. Really like what I'm seeing. Andre Otto, he was taking some real progressive steps. TJ Ferguson was able to get back out to practice today, which he showed a lot of toughness and fight in that. So that's a group that is down. Some guys that. You see guys trying to capitalize on those reps that they're getting with that first group, and we're just overall more reps to kind of show exactly where they are. So that's a big push. At receiver we've got Javen Boggs is he just continued. I thought he had a good day today. He had a set, and Skelly I think he got three straight catches. He's still learning, figuring it out. We've moved him around just a little bit, and he's shown maturity to be able to handle that. We still pushing for more from him, but he's definitely been a bright spot for what I've seen here in camp, and it was good to see him kind of take another positive step here today, especially coming off the scrimmage.
As a coach, when you're looking at the offensive game film from the scrimmage, and you're like, okay, well, that's not where our starting. How do you project how the play would develop? And do you do this with if your starters are out there, instead of maybe guys that will be when you're judging your quarterback, the decision they make, the ball placement, everything they saw, do you project that would look different if Deuce and Squirrel? You know what I'm asking?
Yeah, as you sit there and you go through and you judge the quarterback by how they handle the situation. Where what are they making the guys out there better? Are they going through the proper reads? Are they putting the ball in places where it needs to be? And and then you obviously have we've got a sense of what that's going to look like. Squirrel got even more work today. Got some work last week. We held him from the scrimmage, but Deuce, we got a good number of practices to be able to see exactly where he is, and I like that. But it provides opportunities. I think Elijah Moore is another guy that we're just looking for that every play where he's just looking to take another step. I'm excited about the potential, but it just as I'm thinking through just different plays and elements. But no, it's you get a good assessment of where guys are in their understanding, their command, and I think the quarterbacks have done a good job in that. And then are they making the guys around it better? And then as we continue to elevate that competition and continue to elevate the guys that are available, then it'll look probably a little bit different, and even more of what the capabilities are.
We've asked you before about your role right now, not calling plays. The coordinators also, they don't have positions to coach. There used to be coordinators had also coached a position. How's that been? How do you like that dynamic for all the coordinators?
I think it's really good, and you see that you obviously we got a couple of great coordinators that are well versed in all levels, and so when you have that experience, when you have that understanding, and then to be able to address any issues that they see, in all phases, and to be able to make sure that that it's hitting a certain standard, that expectation, make sure that everybody's coordinated, in what we're teaching, what we're installing. And I think those guys do a good job of moving within their side of ball, but also, being able to be a great resource for the assistant and for the guys that are at the positions, just because of their overall knowledge and, having that flexibility to move a little bit.
We got time for a couple. Ira's got a follow-up.
I should have said 2 for 1.
It's totally unrelated.
It doesn't matter. It's 2 for 1. It's like you one up.
Obviously, a quarterback never wants to turn the ball over. Looking at kind of ways that the plays develop, the situations, how'd you feel about Tommy's decision?
Oh yeah, and I mean on one of the we had a screen pass that was tipped, intercepted. That we actually had a bust on the play. There's an MA at another position that should have helped eliminate the tip, and it's one of those things that you continue to help quarterbacks understand, like some things are going to be you make the most of what you can, and if you see it. I mean, these are the other options. Then we had it was a vertical shot pushed down the field. On the other one, defensive back made a good play. There's going into a young receiver has an opportunity to come back. And so it's a good teaching moment. But I think he's done a good job. Just Tommy specifically has done a good job of working to try to own the football. And there's still elements of it that for him. I think he knows the good miss. He knows the places that we want to try to locate it, and then it's when you have a playmaker like that, and I think all 3 guys in that room that have been heavy reps. I think those guys have all shown playmaking ability. Well, understanding when and where to be able to push the ball in those situations, to gauge the risk when it comes to it. But I think they've done a nice job and continuing to get better with it.
Now we're going to go 2 more. Right.
Yes. There you go. What?
Yes. Spencer brothers. Coach Mike spoke highly of them the other day. What do you think for them, maturity-wise, and their ability to make some sort of impact?
Yeah, I mean, I think you talk about the edge. I mean, it's one of the things they lead with, and they play with. They're still figuring out a lot. As a transition, but I've been really pleased with just the maturity of their approach. I mean, they're still young, but they're you could feel them on the field. I mean, they bring a certain intensity to each snap. I mean, they play with high motors, still areas to grow in that, be a play in and play out. But, they're guys I'm excited about and, looking forward to just seeing their continued progress as they grasp the big picture and then just continue to work on the finer details of the fundamentals and techniques. But, they've got some natural football to them that get you excited as a coach.
All right, last one, Corey.
You were blessed to have a very good kicker the last 2 years. I don't know if there's a kid with a bigger leg than the one you got now. As you look towards the fall, and if you can dial it in, can it change the way you approach like a late half situation, knowing that, there's a chance of 59, 60-yarders in range?
Yeah. No, I mean,
Pleased with what you see from him overall.
I have, and right now he's this is his opportunity to go out there and obviously we have, and I've talked to him the last few weeks about there's not right now we got Bruno that's coming and he'll be that'll bring really thrust more competition into it, but for Jake it's the competition has to be within. It's got to be just about him going out there and maximizing his reps, maximizing things that he can control. He's been good. There was on Saturday I thought that was actually one of his less days. Missed a few that I thought that he was he's shown to be the capabilities, but he does have a huge leg, and to say that it changes the dynamic. Now, I mean, last year Ryan hit a 59-yarder at the end of a half, so it probably more similar to what it was. It's him building that confidence within himself. That it's if we need to pull the trigger, and he does. I mean, I've seen him hit from over 65. So I mean, he's got a great leg. It's just making sure that the consistency of execution and putting himself where he needs to be.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you guys. Have a great day.